The Plug and Play Elite Mental Game is our step-by-step training system for coaches, specifically high school coaches or middle school coaches, to use with their teams to strengthen their mental game and give them a winning edge. It is literally a plug and play system because you have already too much on your plate. You don't need to go become a mental performance coach or sports psychologist to learn these skills. You also don't need to have a lot of time. So we have packaged this in a way where we save you time, we save you headaches, we save you having to Google at night, like, how do I build confidence? How do I teach these mental skills? It'll save you a lot of time on TikTok. I know TikTok is fun, but this is like a packaged in a way that just gives you everything that you need. If I haven't met you, I am Coach Bre. I am a mental performance coach for athletes, but also a longtime head volleyball coach. So we can talk also if that question pops into your head of like, well, what about club and what about this? We'll go over it all. And yes, it is good for all sports. We do specialize in working with girl athletes. So typically it's coaches of girl sports who are utilizing this program. But if you are a coach of a boy sport, we have some talks in the works of creating a program with images of boy athletes. The strategies and there's the skills actually would all be the same. All of the trainings are gender neutral and all the visualizations are gender neutral. It's just that there's female athlete images throughout the program. So we can talk about those things as they're coming up, but I'm going to give you a high level view and then I'm going to share my screen and just show you behind the scenes of like, here's exactly what the program looks like. So there is a roadmap. These are the phases of the program and the key like high level skills that athletes will learn. In phase 1, they learn their snapback routine. So this is that key skill that we teach athletes. Like all athletes, in order to have a strong mental game, there's like 3 main things. Have a way to recover from mistakes fast. Okay. Have a way to deal with pressure and nerves. Okay. Good self-talk, and then have skills like visualization and breath work so that they can utilize those things in moments where it matters most. So we teach all of those things throughout the program. But the first thing that athletes learn right away in phase 1 is how to bounce back in a snap. They develop their custom snapback routine. So we'll talk about this more tomorrow, but their breath, their reset word, and their reset signal all should be custom to athletes. And this is where they develop that in phase 1. So we intentionally front load that skill because it's the easiest for them to learn and it's the easiest for them to see results right away. Phase 2, they go into foundation. So this is where they learn like a daily mindset routine. They learn the foundations of like sports psychology, but it's done, as I get into it, I'll tell you and show you, it's done in a very easy to consume way that allows you to be, I won't say completely hands off because you do need to be present in the room. It can't be just like a set it and forget it crockpot situation. Okay. You still have to be a little bit involved so that they see that you're bought into it. But a lot of these really foundational sports psychology skills that are pared down in a way that high school athletes and middle school athletes can conceptualize them. Okay. When I was in college, yes, we were able to have access to a sports psychologist, and I studied sports psychology in my undergrad. And I'm like, gosh, if I would have known like as a middle schooler in high school, what I know now or what I had access to in college, like it would have been a different story. So this is what we do in that foundational section. Phase 3 is their high performance game plan. This is like pre-competition, post-competition routines. How do you prepare for a match? How do you evaluate it without beating yourself up? This is where we also teach our alter ego technique. If you have athletes who like play good in practice or are aggressive in practice and then hesitate. So all that's in there. And then phase 4 is mental edge toolkit. So this is like, how do you deal with perfectionism, comparison? What do you do when you get injured? Like all of those little things. Leadership is in there too. And then the last phase is all about just habits. We also have an off-season training section. So if you're doing this with your team in the off-season, we have a plan for you on how to do that. I know some coaches have the luxury of having like some sort of like period where they are with their athletes. I never had that, but and they're like, we want some curriculum and some things to show them during this time, which is pretty cool. But this would be like a great way to do that. Okay. This is kind of a repeat of that, but how to actually implement this. And then I'm going to share my screen to show you what the program actually looks like. So 30 minutes a week is like the max that we recommend for the program and the max that you actually need in order to get results. It actually ends up being less than that. So when I start my season, I'll front load more. So it'll be maybe like a 30-minute a week, like on a Friday or something like that, where we're watching a training or I'm delivering the training live. But then after that, like after the first couple of weeks, weeks. It's just a 5 minute a day daily mindset routine. It's their 3-2-1 brave. So it's you don't have a lot of time, right? And so we're finding this to be a way that really allows you to fit this into your already busy schedule. So we have a training plan all laid out for you as a coach that you just literally look like, okay, here is week one. What I do at the beginning of the season is I'm like, okay, my season is like 14 weeks long. Here's where I'm going to do week one. Here's where I'm going to do week two. Oh, this week we're traveling a lot. We're probably not going to do any training this week. So I'm going to roll this into week 4. So that's kind of how I lay it out. You gather your team either in a classroom or in the gym where they have access to some sort of way you can project this or show this to them. You play the short videos, 3 to 15 minutes, very short. They're from me. I, like many of you, as I'm a high school teacher, I've got a thumbs up. And so these are engaging. They're not boring. I don't do lectures. They're very applicable as well. It's not like a sit and get. It's a like you are actually like taking a skill from that 3-minute training and now we're putting it into practice. Okay, so that's kind of the basic overview of how it's implemented. You have a coach facilitation guide. So you don't even have to do any like extra prep for this. It's literally like play video 1. Here are the discussion questions. I also have the discussion questions like in the actual video themselves. Like I said, because I taught for 10 years, like I get it. And so I'm like, this needs to be as easy as possible to facilitate. And then, like I said, athletes take these skills, they put them into practice. You also have access to all of our meditations and visualizations that you can either just play for your athletes, like just put on the speaker and play for them. You can read them. I have scripts in there. So if you want to be the coach that's reading them, that's fine. A lot of coaches are like, I don't know, I don't really want to do that. Or athletes can actually download all of the visualizations and meditations to their phone, which is a really cool way for you to be like, hey, before tomorrow's game tonight, I want you to do the white light, gray smoke meditation, right? And so they have access to that on their phones as well. Okay, let's take a look at what it looks like inside the actual portal for you as a coach. So what you do is when you have access, you go into your portal. So you'll log in with your email. You also get access for you and 3 coaches. So, well, actually 3 coaches total. That's what the license is for. So you and 2 other coaches. Sorry, I misspoke. And if you have additional coaches that you want to have access, it's like a $50 a coach access fee. But you and 3 coaches have access. So that could be like you, JV coach, C team coach, if you want to do it that way. Or some programs do it like we're going to do the volleyball team, we're going to do the basketball team, or we're going to do the softball team or something like that. Okay. So once you have those credentials, you will log into your training portal. You will go to plug and play elite mental game for teams. So you'll just see one thing. Okay. And this is what it looks like for you. All right. You are going to start in the coach start here section. This gets you oriented with everything. Another way that you can access this is just on the sidebar here. I like it better this way. And so you go through the coach start here. This kind of gets you going like, this is what the program is about. Here is your training plan. I give you a little template on how to like insert this into either your off season, if you're doing it in the off season or in season. I'm currently doing this with my team in the off season, which I haven't actually done before. So we can talk about that tomorrow in the Q&A, but it's kind of cool. I have leaders who are like putting, hey, today we're going to do 2.1, and by Friday I want you to report back on this. And they're kind of facilitating it in the group chat, and then also touching base at our open gym. So anyways, we can talk about how to do it in the off season as well, but you start there. And then the warm up is now you're getting your team together. I take care of a lot of the buy-in sometimes, and I have scripts in here though too. If you're like, how do I present this to my team? I have like a specific script that you can use to present this to your team. But also a lot of coaches just press play and I do it all for you. Okay. I talk about it in a way that athletes connect with. During that welcome video, it's like, putting it into terms of like, this is how you're going to get a competitive advantage this season. Like, this is how you're actually going to stand out as a team, as an athlete. And so I take care of a lot of the buy-in for you, which makes it a lot easier. And then you just get going. Okay. So then we go phase 1. If you're like, all right, this week we're doing phase 1, we're creating our snapback routine. You go through, you use your coach facilitation guide. Like I said, facilitating, so in your section, facilitation guide right here, Okay. So you download your facilitation guide so you know, like, here's what the questions I'm going to be asking. There's also athlete playbooks in there. Those are like a workbook that athletes can use to follow along. You don't have to download those. Some coaches like send them to FedEx and have them printed for their athletes. I actually don't do that. I have my athletes, they have a journal and they just like follow along in there. But we also have parent resources. So we have like a sample email in here where you're going to introduce this to your parents, like, hey, we are incorporating mental training into our program this year, which I mean is amazing. Parents love it when you're like, oh, you're actually addressing athlete mental health. Great. And so we have an email in there that you'll send off to your parents, and we have parent resources. So we have a whole nother side of our business actually that teaches parents how to navigate the sports journey in a positive way. And so we actually point all of your parents to our podcast for parents, to our free training for parents, to our free resources for parents, so that they become less of a headache for you. Okay. So we teach them, here's what to say, here's what to not say. All of those things, like when in that email, we have a little link and they go out to all of our parent resources, which is really great. So that's in there for you as well. Okay. And then you go through the plan. It's as simple as that. This is where all the visualizations are. So if you're like, hey, I want to play this, here's where all the breath work techniques are. We have some bonuses in here that we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Whatever. I'll just give you a little sneak peek. But any of you that know, like JP Nervin, he basically works with coaches on culture. So really his specialty is culture. So we've paired up with him and he has a bonus in our course on like the key steps to building a strong culture in your team. We also partnered with Betsy Butterick. If any of you are familiar with her, she's a communication specialist working with coaches on their communication specifically. And her more recent research has been around communicating effectively with the Gen Z athlete. And so she did a bonus for us as well. That's in here. We also have a bonus around how to thrive under challenging coaches. That might be one where you play and leave the room because you're like, sorry, I might be a challenging coach to you, but you still got to deal with it. Okay. And then how to deal with challenging teammates as well. So we know that's a big thing. So we've put that as a bonus in there as well. We also have some other we have a nutrition workshop in there that we partnered with a sports dietitian to bring that to athletes. So there's a little workshop in there about nutrition and fueling, which is great. We also partnered with an Olympian, Kim Hill. She's a volleyball player, and she did a whole talk with our athletes on authenticity. So there's also some great resources in there that you have access to optionally, use for your team. So there's a lot of great things in here. As far as access goes, in the program, this license is good for 1 year, and you can either choose to automatically renew or not. But if you don't renew, you don't have access. But that is what the access is for EMG. Okay, so that's kind of the behind the scenes. I want to make sure that I got all of those, but that's what it looks like from your side as a coach. And if there are questions that are coming up, pop those in the chat. Okay. I will address some common ones though, some common questions that we get from athletes. We've had hundreds of teams come through. And in fact, on Friday, you're going to hear from a couple of coaches who have been through the program. They're going to come on our panel and they're going to share their experience of utilizing Plug and Play Elite Mental Game. But some of the common questions that I get, these are from coaches, is what if my team isn't into mental training? So how do you present this? How do you get them bought in? Because it is sometimes, if you're doing this for the first time, it might be a little different. Like I said, we have in the welcome videos, I take care of a lot of that for you. So we have a script ahead of time though, if you do want to talk about it and you're like, hey, and honestly, the best way you can do it is we have goals this season. That's how I presented it to my team is we want to separate ourselves, and athletes really do connect with this when you start talking their language around yeah, you are a talented, we're all we've got a talented team, a talented bunch. We could go really far, but, rhetorically asking them, but how many of you struggle with negative self-talk when you make a mistake? Or when you get super nervous, you don't know how to manage those nerves, that impacts how you play, those type of things. They're yeah, that's, that's me. And so they're actually giving them tools. A lot of athletes, especially the ones that I have, we also have a whole nother side of our business, like I said, for parents, but also for athletes to individually go through our program. We've had over 4,000 athletes come through, and they're constantly like, I am so grateful that I now have strategies to handle this, to manage this, because it is not when, it was not like a when is this going to happen to me? It is like, it is going to happen to you as an athlete, where you are in a pressure situation, where you made a mistake and you've got to come back fast, where you're comparing yourself to other people. Like, it just happens as part of being an athlete, but most athletes aren't taught like how to actually like navigate that. So they buy in pretty fast. And the fact that the snapback routine is the first skill, it's actually a really great thing. I will say that even with me doing what I do, all my athletes, all my parents in my program know that I have a whole company dedicated to mental training, and I work with thousands of athletes and parents and teams. I still probably have about, I would say 85 to 90% are in it. And I still have on average about 10 to 15 that aren't. And the thing for me as a coach is like, I'm not focusing on the ones that aren't in it. If you are not going to take advantage of this resource to be better as an athlete, then that's on you. And I just focus on really the athletes that are in it, instead of like getting caught in that negativity bias where I'm like zooming in on the athletes that like maybe aren't taking it as seriously as I wish they would have. Okay. Um, all right. Good question, Rob. I'll answer that in a second. Okay. I have more than one team. How does this work? So this is kind of up to you. I have more than one team as well. I have 3 to 4, depending on the season. We're talking high school, and I have done it both ways. I've done it where I have the whole program participate. That's what I did this past season. What I did is I had the whole program participate, and then we break off by teams to answer the questions. So it was like more intimate with the varsity, JVC, or freshman team. You could also like give access to your other coaches, and they can lead it with their team. So it's kind of up to you. I will say when I do it just with the varsity team, or just with like the one team that you're coaching, it's a little bit more of an intimate experience. So I do like that. Okay, do I do this in the off season or during season? Okay, what if I only have a few more weeks left in season, or I just started? When it comes to mental skills, like a little bit is better than nothing. I have a lot of coaches who are like, we actually like got the program right as we were heading into postseason, and it gave us that like edge that we needed as we were dealing with kind of like the nerves of postseason. So we have an off-season training plan that you can follow if you're wanting to do this in the off season. And then if you're in season, like honestly, even if you only have a few more weeks, pick some of the skills. Like, we're gonna learn a snapback routine, we're gonna learn a pregame routine. Like, even just doing that is useful. Okay. Let's see, Shannon, good question. Okay, how many weeks does this take? So if you follow the 30-minute a week training plan, it takes about 12 weeks. You can spread it out 12 weeks. But the other part of it is you can go faster, you can go slower. You don't have to do all the weeks. I do recommend you do phases 1, 2, and 3. Those are like the foundational phases, but 4 and 5, you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. There's also fun things in there like a vision board party. And, there's a lot of like kind of optional things that if you want to do it, great. But really the foundational things are phase 1 and phase 2 and most of phase 3. So they're doing pre-competition. So those 3 phases you could really get done in like 3 weeks. But, that's where I recommend you look at your season and you're like, okay, where can I plug this in? And where does it make sense? How do I present this to parents? Again, this is like a value add to your program, to like 100%. It's a value add to your athletic department. Parents want to know that you are that you are supporting your athletes' mental health, because as much as we're like, well, that's what you should be doing, parents, like, yeah, we have resources on that. But to hear, like, as a parent myself, to be like, okay, wow, she like cares about, or they care about more than just her physical skills, like, that this is a huge value add. And so parents typically, like, there's not a lot of like convincing you have to do to your parents to make this sound like a good idea for them. And also they're not typically paying for it. So it's like, wow, this is amazing. And so, like I said, we have an email that you can send out to your parents to let them know that you're doing this for your program this year. And we send them to our parent resources. Okay. Like I said, we work with parents on the other half of our business, and we've got a podcast for them. We've got a free training for them. We have like do's and don'ts of, messing up your daughter's sports journey. So like, it's actually really great to send them over there so that they're hearing that message loud and clear. Okay. Do you take POs? Yes, we take POs. You just need to email us and let us know. I will say that the scholarship application for this is due by tonight. So if you are wanting like to put your name in the hat for a free access to Plug and Play Elite Mental Game, make sure you fill out the scholarship application. That's on your welcome page. It's linked in all the emails as well. Our standard pricing of this program is $797, and that's for 1 year access for 3 coaches. But tomorrow you're going to hear about the discount and the additional bonuses that we have for boot camp coaches, because we're running a special for you being a part of this boot camp that will be good for until Monday. Okay. So you'll hear about that discount. It's a good juicy discount. But yes, we do take purchase orders, and other coaches have paid for it. Like, I mean, out of pocket, that's one option. But also like booster funds or building funds. If you need to share this with your AD, we have some resources for them as well. We have a brochure on what it's all about. We've had full departments join. So like an AD decides like, yep, we're going to do this, and then gives access to their coaches. So if you want to do it that way, we have, that's why we have some brochures and some things that you can share with your AD. Okay. Shannon's question, do you make it optional or mandatory? Great question. I make it mandatory in the season. It's just like part of what we do. In the off season, that is interesting. I actually decided to make it optional for the off season. However, I would say we had about the same percentage that like fully participate in season are fully participating out of season too. So, yeah, so that's that. Obviously you're going to get better results if you make it mandatory. So if you just bake it into what you're doing. Okay. So would it be beneficial to have the girls join EMG as well using this resource? Or would that be overkill? Yeah, Rob, that'd probably be overkill. Yeah, I don't want to confuse the two programs, I guess. This is for you as a coach to facilitate with your team in a team setting. So, and that's why we can actually offer like a lower price for this. Our standard program for athletes and parents to join individually is much more than this, because they get like personalized coaching from our coaches. They have individual portal access. They have like live it's a lot more intense on that side. This is a great way for you as a coach to provide mental training for your team in this group setting, so that they're like together, they're learning it together. They also get to share in that, like what we talked about on day one with like the vulnerability. It's a great way for you to check that box too, like because they're sharing like, here's my typical response when I make a mistake, and here's what I wish it was, and here's my reset word. And they're talking about like their best playing moments, and they can better support each other as players when they're going through something shared like this. And it also gives you as a coach a shared language with your athletes. Now, I don't know all of my athletes' reset words, but I can say to them, hey, use your reset word. And they know what that means. I don't know all my athletes like pre-competition routines, but I can check in with them and say like, hey, how was your pre-competition routine? Did you do it? So it gives a shared language around all of this as well, so that you're not just talking about the mental game, you're actually giving them skills and teaching the mental game. So great questions. Okay, I think that might be the only other. Okay, any other questions that this is like sparking with you? Yeah, like I said, applications are open until tonight. So, I mean, you might as well. You might as well throw your name in the hat for this. Because these aren't need-based scholarships at all. It's just like to see who's interested, and so that we can pull from who is showing interest. But like I said, this is what I started implementing with my team. It's been 6 years now. And so, obviously when I first started doing it, it was kind of more of like let's see how this goes. Let's see how they responded really well. We turned this into an online program for girl athletes, from the get. And, like I said, that's like our flagship program that over 4,000 athletes and parents have gone through. And then over the years, we've had so many coaches ask like, we need this for my team. I need this for my team. And so 3 years ago, we split it out and we created a program for teams. And that's what we have now. So this is really like a one-stop shop, a very easy way for you not to have to like spend more time, more money, more resources, more like Googling to try and piece things together. More than just a coach, just as a person, like I pay for my time, if that makes sense. Like if there is a way for me to speed up the time to learn something, the time to implement something, I'm going to do it. Right? So we've packaged this all in a way where you don't have to waste time Googling TikToking, like, oh, that sounds good. Let me piece that in here. Oh, that sounds good. Like that mental fatigue of trying to figure out and like build your own program. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Like this is already done for you. So yeah. Okay, John, I know you mentioned this is geared towards middle school and high school athletes. I'm in a small college. Do you feel it would work with college female athletes? I'm thinking it would, since most of them probably do not have anything like this. Yeah, John, I'm glad you asked that. I'm surprised I didn't remember to say this, but yes, we've actually had several college programs go through this as well. So absolutely. When I say middle school, like for our middle schoolers, honestly, not all of it is applying to them. Our main demographic for this program is high school, like upper high school, and then we have, I would say 75% would be that demographic, and then 25% college girl athletes. So yeah, this would definitely apply, especially if they don't have a resource like this. Depending on the school and depending on what resources you have, this is a great way for you to, yeah, like give them something over nothing. Okay. Any other questions about plug and play? And then we'll get into our visualization for today. Cool. Oh yeah, good question, Carlton. Cost to purchase program is $797 for the first year, and it's the same to renew. Yes, that is true. But Carlton, we're giving a discount tomorrow. So be on tomorrow to hear what that discount is for you for being a boot camp member. And that discounted price will be your renewal price as well. So, yeah, the discount that we give tomorrow for you will be like your lifetime price for renewal. And Courtney, the discount will be good until Monday. So, yeah, great questions. Obviously, I know from working in schools, sometimes things get a little like, we're doing it, but it like takes the business office like 4 days to respond to an email, like reach out to us. We're human. We get it. So just like, let me know if you're in that boat. I have an email out to my AD, not to throw him under the bus, but I'm like, I'm going to start just like showing up at your house. Like, can you answer these questions, please? Okay. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, come on. I know you've got a lot on your plate, especially when they actually cut all the ADs from our district. And so it's like a assistant principal who is like also acting AD. And so you know how that goes. Not the best. Not the best. Okay. Tomorrow morning's training is all about the mental game and how to quickly infuse this into your culture. We'll talk about plug and play mental game, the discount that you're getting for being a part of the boot camp, and then we're also going to be answering some Q&A. So bring all of your questions. It'll be a little bit longer tomorrow for that reason. I would say probably about an hour because we're tacking on that Q&A at the end. So, all right, everyone, I'll see you later.